Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vance. In today's tutorial, we're teaching you how to cut and sew this beautiful Victorian corsets blouse with zip at the back. So if this is what you want to learn, let's get right into the tutorial. So I'll be using this scrap fabric for this project. Then I have gone ahead to mark out my points. That's my underbust. So this is the part I've marked out. This is my starting line, my bust point, my underbust, my waistline, and the full length of my blouse. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take the shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2 is giving me 7, or will give me 7. So I'll come down by 1 inch shoulder slope. After my 1 inch shoulder slope, I will get my armhole line. To get my armhole line, I divided my bust by 6 plus 1.5. When I'm done dividing, whatever I got, I marked it down. So when I'm done marking it down, I'll go ahead and rule it out with my marker pen. Alright, after ruling it out, the next thing I'm going to do is to replace my shoulder measurement on the line. That's my CL, my chest line. So I'll mark out my shoulder measurement again, and then I'll go ahead and connect it back to my shoulder slope line, just like this. When I'm done with this point, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shoulder width, my neck width rather, which is 3, and my neck depth, which is 3. So I'll be using 3 by 3 for the neck width and for the neck depth. When I'm done, I'm going to connect them together. Then I'll connect my shoulder slope just like this. When I'm done with this, I'm going to divide my armhole line into 2. I'll get the midpoint, I'll mark it, and then when I'm done marking it, I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch. If you're conversant with my tutorials, you know that this is what we do, or what I do all the time. So after connecting it, I'll go ahead and take my nipple to nipple. My nipple to nipple is 7 plus 1, which is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I'm going to mark it out, and then I'll connect them, the points together. When I'm done with this, from the bust point, I'll come down by 1 inch, just the way you see me doing. Then on the underbust, I'll come in on both sides by 1 inch. My CF, I'll come in by 1 inch. My side F, that's my SF, I'll come out by 1/2 inch. For my full length, I'll come up by 1 inch, just like this. And then I'm going to connect the points together. Then for my the 1 inch I came down from my bust point, I'll give it a slight curve, not a deep curve, just a slight curve. Then I'll get the difference between my bust point and my underbust, which is 3. I'll place it on my bust point, and then whatever I got 1. Then I'll rule it out. I marked out the 1, and then I ruled it out. I'll now connect my nipple to nipple line. I will extend it down to my new chest line. So I'll come in on my CF by 1/2 inch, and the other part, that's my SF, I'll go in by 1/2 inch. I'll connect it to my bust point, just the way you see me doing, like this. So when I'm done with this part, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bust measurements divided by 4. Whatever I have, I'm going to mark it there. And then I'll take my underbust divided by 4. Then my waistline divided by 4, I'm going to add extra 1 inch. This is the only place I added 1 inch. That's my waistline. So for my full length of the blouse, that's my hip. So I use my waistline. I just marked it out. So I'm going to connect the points together, just like this. When I'm done with this point, next thing I'm going to do is for my waistline, I'll check what I got there. I'll divide it by 2, just like this, into 2. I'll mark it. I'll check back what I got there, and then that's what I will use to be marking out the lines on my under bust, my bust point, my chest line, and then the new chest line. I'll also do the same thing for the full length of my blouse. I'll connect the lines, the points together, just like this. When I'm done with this part, on my waistline, I'll go in by 0.25 on both sides, and then I'm going to connect it together from the new chest line. I'll connect the points down to my waistline, and then from the full length I'll come up also by 1 inch. I'll connect the points together, just like so. When I'm done with this part, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my bust darts. I came down by 2 inches from my bust point to achieve my bust dart. I'll connect it to that point. That's my nipple to nipple point. Connect it to that point, and then this part I'm marking out is a part I'm going to cut out. I'll not be using my neck width or my neck depth for this project. So from the chest line, I'm going to come down by 1.7. That's from our new chest line, just the way you see me doing, to get that princess, that sweetheart shape, rather, not princess, the sweetheart shape. So I'm going to connect it like this. Then for me to get that pointy part in the blouse, I'm going to check what I got between these two dots, just the way you see me doing like this. I'm going to check it, and then I'm going to divide it into 2 to get the midpoint. So after dividing it, I'll come up by 1.5 inches. Then I'll connect it from my dart leg, okay, to this point, just the way you see me doing. Connect the other point to my armhole line. Then I'll extend my dart legs to that our new pointy part. Okay, I don't know what's called that part. So I'm going to go ahead and cut. I'll be using this basic body, this front block, to cut out my back block. So I'll cut it out just the way you see me doing like this, and then I'll bring a fresh sheet of pattern paper. I'll place this on it, and then I'm going to trace out the back from the front block. So what I'll do next is I'm going to pin it down, because I want my paper to be relaxed on the plain sheet. So I'm going to pin it down just like this. I don't want to be in a situation whereby I'll be trying to get my zip allowance and the paper is moving. So I'll cross check if this was what I wanted for my zip allowance. So it was perfect. I actually used 1.5 inch for my zip allowance. Then I'll go ahead and then trace out my point. That's my chest line, just like this. Trace it out. From the full length of my upper bodice, I'll come up by 2 inches. So you see I came up by 2 inches to replace the bust that I came down by in my front block. So after tracing this out, I'm going to remove my pins. I came up again by 2 inches. So after removing my pins, I'll go ahead and use my French curve and then trace it out properly. When I'm done tracing it out, I'm going to indicate my zip allowance, just like this. When I'm done with this, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down from my zip allowance by 1.5, because I don't want the back side of this top or this blouse to be equal with the chest line. So I came down by 1.5 to give it that slopey part. So I am cutting it out now, just like you see me doing. So this will serve as my back block. I'm going to go ahead and label back. So when I'm done with this part, I'll go ahead and bring the front, and then I'm going to cut out. I'm going to indicate 1, 2, and 3 so I won't have to make mistake. This is very important because Victorian corset can be really confusing. So this is me cutting out my patterns. So you can watch how I'm cutting it out so you won't have to make any mistake. So when I'm done cutting it out, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close my bust dart just like this. I don't have a masking tape, so I'm going to use my pin to replace the masking tape. So I'm going to pin it down just like this. So I'm done. So this is my front block, which I labeled 1 to 3. Then I'm indicating it with an arrow so I will know the upper part of it. So, and this is my back block. So I'm done with the block. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it on my fabric. Before I cut, I'm going to place my pattern paper on the fabric. I folded the fabric into 2. I'm going to place it on the fabric. First of all, the center front, I'm going to pin it down just like this. After I'm done pinning it down, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trace out, like I'll add allowance, because if you notice in the pattern I didn't add any allowance at the pattern. So I'm going to use this opportunity to add my allowances. So for the allowance, I'll be using 0.75. So I'm marking out my 0.75 following the shape of the pattern. And then for the upper part where the arrow is, I'll be using 1/2 inch. So this is me marking out my 0.75 at around my patterns. So when I'm done marking out the 0.75, I'll go ahead and cut it out. The upper parts and the down part of this blouse I actually used 1/2 inch, while the sides I used 0.75. So this is me cutting it out. So you can see I did 1/2 inch. So this is my front block. I've folded my back, my fabric. I've placed my back pattern on it, and then I'm pinning it down. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out. For the upper part, I give an allowance of 1/2 inch. That's the only place I give an allowance, just the upper part. So this is my back block and my front block. The next thing I'm going to do is to add my interface. I've already added my interface. I've cut out my lining. I've added interface to the lining and to the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the pins, because I use pins to hold the fabric and the lining together. So I'm going to remove the pins so that I can now join my fabrics together. Just watch what I'm doing. So I'm removing my pins. I'm setting aside the linings too. So I'm going to join it like this. I'll pin it down. The center front, that's my 1. I will join my 2 to it, just like this. We'll join them all together, pinning them down so that I won't get confused. you have to do this because Victorian corset is mostly when you have multiple panels, it can be really challenging. So it's very important if you pin it down. So this is me pinning them down, and then I'm going to bring the back part of my blouse. I'm going to join it also. At this point I got confused, guys. I got confused at this part because I was just trying to check if like match them together, but it wasn't matching. Like seriously, I got confused at this part, let me not lie. But at the end of the day, I corrected my mistakes, and then this was it when I got the right parts. So I'm going to do the same thing for the lining. So I'll bring in my center front of my lining, my one, I'll place the two, that's the mid front, place the mid front again by the side of the center front, and then I'm going to place my side front on the mid front. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. At this point, guys, I want you to subscribe to my channel, like, share, and leave a comment in the comment section if you have any question or you're confused about the video. You can just leave a comment for me and I will respond to every comment. Okay, so this was when I was done pinning it down. I'll go ahead and sew it. So this was when I was done sewing it down. So you can see, I'll go to my ironing table and then I'll iron it out and show you how it looks. So this is my front part. You see the cup is already out. Oh my god, it's already coming out beautifully well, if that English is correct. Okay, so this is my lining. I'll go ahead and iron it and then I'll show you. So this was when I was done ironing it. As you can see, it's well ironed, and then we have some excesses at the upper part and at the down part of this blouse. So I'll go ahead and then I'll trim it, fold it into two so that I can get equal folding. So I'll go ahead and use my scissors and trim out the excesses. I'll do the same thing for both the main fabric and for the lining. This tutorial is actually easy if you're very conversant with Victorian corsets. This is actually easy. So I was done trimming out the main fabric. So this was it when I was done. You can see our pointy parts came out so well. So even the lining too, I'm going to trim it out, fold it into two and then trim out the excesses. So when I'm done trimming it out, I'm going to join my fabric, my line. So now I'm removing, before then I removed about 1/2 inch from the down part of the lining so that I can be able to turn it. So before I turn it, I'm going to add my boning, either before or after, it doesn't matter. But I think I added my boning after I joined the top of the lining with my main fabric, just like this. So you can see I've joined my lining and my main fabric at the top, just the way you see me do it, like this. So this is it. See how it looks so fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my bonings before I can be able to join the sides and the down part of our of our blouse. So I'm going to go ahead and use my boning. So I'm going to be using non-sewable boning. Initially I felt like I should use the sewable boning, but I didn't want a situation whereby it will start bending and it will not make me uncomfortable. So I decided to use the non-sewable boning. So this was me when I was fixing it. I actually had a tough time fixing this thing to this casing because I realized that the casing was a bit smaller than the boning, and I had already gotten the boning. There was no way for me to return it back to the buyer, to the person that sold it for me, sorry. So this was me struggling to fix in the boning to the casing, but at the end of the day, I actually tried my best to fix it in. So when I was done fixing it in, I had to join my boat lining and my fabric together. So this was how it looks when I was done. So pretty. You can use it to wear your gown and the rest. Thank you guys for watching my video. I will see you in my next tutorial. Bye.